the cell. Does everybody follow me? So the hormones, these chemical messengers that we have, their action in the cell is to affect the product. So, we've got a couple of things that are going to happen to make this occur. Well, we're going to say that we have 3 chemical classes of hormones. Now, we have our steroid hormones. They are derived from cholesterol. What other terms do you kind of associate with, say, cholesterol? Fats. We tend to associate that with fats. Lipids, right? How do fats and water work?
They're against each other.
They're against each other. They don't want to allow any type of dissolution, right? So we've got the fats that we've got to think about. Stuff like the sex steroids, estrogens, progesterones, LHs, FSHs, and so forth, okay? The corticosteroids, do you remember that with the ACTH, the adrenocorticotropic hormone, okay? Calcitriol, the stuff that we associate with like the kidneys, vitamins D and stuff like that, okay? We then have our monoamines. Mono means how much?
1.
1. Amine, do you associate that with anything? Amino. Okay? So if you remember amino acids, a group that was on the amino acids, they're letting us know there's 1 amine group. Okay? Now, in this group right here, we're saying these are also neurotransmitters. So not only do they act as a hormone, they also act as a neurotransmitter, like a double action. This is stuff such as dopamine, epinephrine, norepinephrine. What do you think of when you hear those? What's another action or something that happens in our body that we associate with those?
The stress system.
My stress, my adrenaline. Okay? Now, those 3, they're also known as catecholamines. It's another way that we're saying that these are neurotransmitters as well as hormones. These 3 are very well known for having the actions of both, of having the action of a hormone as well as a neurotransmitter. And because of the actions that they have, these 3 have a huge effect against physiological factors. For example, blood pressure. If you think about the stress response, one thing that's going to happen, blood pressure is going to go up. Okay? So they have big effects. Wouldn't really call it, well, sometimes rapid effects on physiological factors. Some other ones, melatonin and thyroid. The reason that they're called the monoamine, they're going to keep their amino group, one of them, which would be this. If you look at the chemistry of it, it's a huge molecule that they keep as part of their makeup. So that's why I call monoamines. Then we're going to find that we simply have peptides. So our hormones will be classed into one of these. They will either be known as a steroid, a monoamine, or a peptide. And a peptide is simply the amino acids strung together. Do you remember how when DNA codes for like our little amino acid, and then we string that amino acid together, and that's called a peptide? Okay. That's what you get before that peptide chain begins to either twist in on itself, fold in on itself, or turn in on itself, creating the structure of a protein. Okay? So, our peptides, oxytocin, ADH, insulin, releasing and inhibiting hormones from the hypothalamus. That's pretty much the majority, all of them, really, from the hypothalamus. They're going to be these peptides. Hormones of the anterior pituitary will either end up being a polypeptide, many of them strung together, or glycoproteins, meaning they've got a sugar portion added to them. So now I have materials in these hormones that are going to either be able to dissolve in blood, or the fat or the makeup of a cell membrane, because remember, those are phospholipid bilayers, okay, like the product, and the product can move directly. I got to control this. The body, because if we think about, for example, if one of the hormones is water soluble, well, if I'm dependent on blood, what percentage of blood is water? Actually, it's a little higher. Depending upon your hydration level, it can be 70 to 80% or more water. So now, if we've got this high amount of water, I need to make sure that I can still transport these hormones to the cell that needs them. And the body has figured out ways to do that. Now, how do we know which hormones the body needs at a point in time? Well, we've mentioned quite a few times that in areas of my brain, the primitive areas, okay, I'm going to have centers that pick up information and then transfer it so that the hypothalamus can say, we need this. We've got these centers that are picking up information. When I've talked about that, one of the things that we're going to learn as we move forward, when we talk about the blood of the body, back in early times, before things got a lot of technical terms associated with them, fluids of the body, which they knew blood at the time, were called humors. And not like ha ha funny, okay? It was like H-U-M-O-U-R, okay? And humor, H-U-M-O-R, all right? So what we call this information about the levels that are in the blood of certain materials, doesn't just have to be hormones. We're going to say that these are humoral. So we have the ability with our blood to have levels, because that's where these hormones are going to be. These hormones are traveling by way of blood. So their levels are detected in certain areas of the brain and can transfer that information to say, oh, I need more, I need less of that hormone. Other ways that the body is going to determine these chemicals that are needed, well, we can actually have stimuli from neurons. Why? Because some of the glands have a nerve fiber. Can you think of one right off the top of your head? One of our glands that is served directly by a sympathetic nerve fiber. The adrenal gland medulla, served directly. So we can actually have some of this information be by direct contact with the neuron. Another way is the hormone itself, which would be hormonal stimuli. The hormones, their ultimate start is the hypothalamus. The hypothalamus is receiving information from other areas of the brain that got information from other areas of the body. So, it's saying hypothalamus will regulate that secretion because in the hypothalamus we find either releasing hormones or inhibiting. So it will say, oh, I picked this up. Guess what? We've got enough. Let's inhibit the production, and vice versa. So it regulates it by either direct nerve information, levels in the blood, and the hypothalamus detecting this and saying, I need more, I need less. And in some cases, we're going to find that that hormone, especially with like the thyroid hormone, it has the ability to self-regulate. Under normal conditions, the thyroid hormone, when it goes through making it, can actually tell thyroid releasing hormone, stop or start. But that's because the thyroid hormone is so important in the body, helping keep, one of the things, body heat, our body temperature. Because think about this now. What is the only product a cell can make? The protein. In part 1 and in your general bio, hopefully you learned that certain conditions can affect a protein. And once you affect the structure of a protein, you have affected its function. What was one of the conditions of the body that could affect a protein? Body temperature.